Hi everybody, Louise Eddington, Cosmic Owl, Cosmic Owl Astrology, and I want to do a quick video for you today to talk about Mercury going through Aquarius. It's a whistle-stop journey through Aquarius because Mercury is moving fast at the moment. And Mercury in Aquarius is a bit like the mad scientist. It's very erratic, very out of the box thinking, but it can connect big dots. But there's going to be information overload through this journey. It's going to be pretty wild because it's so fast and because of all the other things we have going on with the moon going very out of bounds twice a month. So that's part of the journey because we're at lunar maximum and because of all the big change going on in the world. Ironically, the moon moves into the sign of Aquarius tonight. I'll show you the charts in a minute. And we're already hearing something in the news. There's a Chinese AI thing called DeepSeek. Yeah, can't remember the name now. Anyway, it was affecting some tech stocks and things like that. So everything's like even more erratic kind of thing. And of course, Aquarius is very associated with technology and AI and all that kind of energy anyway. But before I dive in, I do also want to invite you to a free call summit. It's called the Priestesses something or other. Sorry, I can't remember what it's called now. But anyway, it's lovely. It's called A Summit for Courage, Creativity and Curiosity in 2025 and beyond. And I was interviewed by the wonderful Kaylin Castell. She was actually on my quantum astrology gathering to this Astro Priestess Summit, and I was interviewed about the centaurs, and I have to say it was a great interview, and she was pretty blown away by the information I gave her on the interview. So I hope you'll register. I'm going to put the link in the description. But if you can't see the link, it's www.summitastropriestesses.com. All right. Right, let's dive in. So Mercury is moving into the sign of Sagittarius this evening at 9:52 p.m. Eastern. Now, I am going to talk about some of the asteroids and things, which I don't always do on my videos, but because I think they're quite significant journeys. But you can see here, this is Mercury, this is the symbol, moving into the sign of Aquarius at 9:52 p.m. Eastern. Now, one of the main significant reasons why this journey is going to be part of the big shift that we're going through is that this is the first time Mercury is going into Aquarius since Pluto moved fully into the sign of Aquarius. So, and of course, that's one of the first major aspects. But let's go through them all. But I do want to just say, this is going to be a bit hair raising. The news cycle is going to be like off the charts. It's going to be, people are going to be like, it's going to be that information overload. And of course, we're seeing that chaos with a certain chaos agent in the world. So, but it's also about connecting the dots and coming into community. So, everything always has a shine and shadow. So let's start with day one. So tonight, Mercury moves into Aquarius and immediately makes an air trine with Sedna over here. Sedna is an agent, one of the agents of the massive shifts we're going through. These won't affect you so much personally, but this is adding to this energy of this huge cosmic consciousness shift that we are going through. And Sedna and Pluto are in an ongoing aspect, air trine to each other, of transformation and change. And Sedna has this kind of do or die kind of energy. It's time to really change your perspectives, change how you live, change how you think about things, how you do things. There's also a big element with these aspects about finding your people and your community, and more people are creating these energy spaces of new communities. Okay, so this is what happens tonight. All right, so that moves on. So then on to tomorrow. The moon will move into the sign of Aquarius, and I'm actually going to, which I don't normally do, I am going to show you some of these aspects. So on to the 28th, as we approach the new moon, the moon will join Mercury in Aquarius and Pluto all at the same degree. So the moon and Mercury and Pluto are all at this 1 degree mark, which is a real kind of new beginning energy, right? But also, as the moon meets Mercury and Mercury and the moon are both approaching this, we also have Mercury moving into conjunct with Pluto like just hours later. So the moon will join Pluto and see, all of this is at 1 degree, and then Mercury will meet Pluto at that 1 degree mark as well. And this is happening in the dark of the moon. So this is really about, what do I need to change? What do I need to think? How do I need to think outside the box? How do I need to connect some dots and be a bit of a mind, a mad scientist myself in the world, and create this new way of being in the world? These are huge, big shifts, right? By the way, so we're on January the 29th, and that's all happening on the new moon. So use all this energy of Mercury immediately over the next day and a half, about as we head towards the new moon on the 29th. At the new moon is at I'm just trying to look at the time. I can't see it there. Anyway, I did a whole new moon video. This is really about, planning, future planning, hopes, wishes, and dreaming and setting intention to really kind of create differently, okay, and think differently. Then later on the 29th, Mercury is actually also going to square. And again, these are things I don't normally look at on these videos, but it feels very important because it's all happening so close together. Late on January the 29th, you can see we're just past the new moon, but it's going to be in that dark moon phase for a couple of days. Mercury has already moved to 3 degrees, told you it's moving fast, and it squares off to Creatrix Haumea. Now, this is significant because Pluto and Haumea have this ongoing square. It started in Libra and Capricorn and is moved now to Scorpio and Aquarius. They have 13 exact squares. They started in 2022 and they end in 2028. So we are more than halfway and we are heading towards the next square. So they're connected to each other all the time. It's just the exact squares that are, there's 2 a year. I can't remember exactly when the next one is. It doesn't really matter because Pluto and Haumea are really working together to do away with the old paradigm and birth the new paradigm in such a big way. Pluto is kind of more the death and rebirth, and Haumea is a creatrix. But of course, birthing is messy, all right? But we are birthing this new world that is just unimaginable at this point. So, but this is in fixed signs, and this is change, and we are not really comfortable with change, humans, but we're pushed inexorably towards these massive shifts and changes. And Mercury in Aquarius is saying, just think outside the box, kind of rise above kind of the old way of thinking and really kind of set intention to move forward. All right, so that's how Maya. And so let's move on to the 30th. These are the kind of really intense aspects at first. It slows down a little bit, but Mercury is just moving so fast. In fact, you can probably see here, fast, fast, fast. She's kind of about halfway between retrogrades, which is why she's moving so fast. So on the 30th, we actually do not have many Mercury aspects, but Uranus stations direct on the 30th, and Haumea stations retrograde. So this is a big change while Mercury is in the sign of Aquarius, asking you to do that out of the box thinking and forward planning and mind mapping and connecting, finding your people, finding your communities. And so this is massive change in the middle of the retrograde. All right. So that's important too. So no more Mercury aspects for a little while. So I'm just going to move forward. There's a couple of things I want to make sure I don't miss those. So bear with me 1 second. Okay. So on to February the 2nd. After this big rush, it's kind of like all this stuff coming at us in the first days, but then it slows down a little bit, and Mercury and the moon are sextile on February the 2nd. By that point, the moon has gained light after the new moon. The moon is in Aries and Mercury is in Aquarius, and Mercury is at the degree of the Aquarius new moon, that is on the 30th. And so these are aspecting on that degree of the new moon. So it's like the seeds that you set in that intense transformative birthing few days of Mercury in Aquarius you're going to start taking action and start creating and start doing things, because the moon is in action oriented Aries. Okay. So be really mindful, a very good Mercury word, about what intentions you are setting. Just bringing a bit of numerology into it. This is 9, and this is a number of ending of a cycle and new beginnings, as if we didn't know that wasn't all happening in spades. Okay, so on to the next day, February the 3rd. Mercury actually is a bit busier on February the 3rd, right after that aspect with the moon. So over here in Scorpio, we have Vesta, which is the sacred inner flame, and Hecate, which is the inner flame that's showing you the way. She is the way shower, squared by Mercury. And so you can see Mercury is now at 10 Aquarius over here, square to these two. The way forward is that healing from the inside out and digging deep into what your soul desires are. This is how this really kind of speaks to me. And Mercury at the same time, pretty much, I'm not going to change the chart again, makes another air trine. Remember, we started with the air aspect to Sedna. Now Mercury trines Jupiter, and Jupiter is stationing direct the very next day on the 4th. So this is another big shift, and this Jupiter is in Mercury's sign. Again, I keep saying this on all my stuff. I've never seen a time like it where we are being asked to change how we think, our perspectives, how we communicate, how we talk to each other, how we plan. We are just really being asked to step into what I would call mind magic, okay, in many, many ways. So that Mercury trine to Jupiter is also happening on February the 4th. And then, February the 3rd. And then, as I mentioned, on February the 4th, Jupiter stations direct at 4:40 a.m. Eastern. So big changes. Uranus, Haumea changing direction, then Jupiter and Mercury in this sign aspecting Jupiter that is in Mercury's sign. All this is information. I did so much craziness. But then we bring the moon in again. I thought it was worth looking at these aspects because this is such a short but intensely wild journey. So February the 4th, Jupiter is now direct because it's stationed direct early in the morning, all times Eastern. The moon is now in the sign of Taurus and squaring Mercury at 13 degrees, the number of the goddess. And so this is saying she is rising, the feminine is rising no matter what you think. We're obviously needed quite a lot of lessons about how we've, how the feminine has been treated, but I still maintain that the energy of the feminine is rising. And Mercury square the moon on February the 4th is a big turning point again towards that, with the moon in very connected, earthy Taurus. Okay, so moving on, less aspects for a few days, and we'll be going all the way to February the 7th. So at this point, the moon is moving way forward and is over here in the sign of Gemini, has passed Jupiter, and we get Mercury and the moon in the signs of Gemini and Aquarius, with the moon in Mercury's sign, more thinking differently, integrating your mind and your emotions, because this is the moon. This is also perhaps with the moon being the people in mundane astrology, that the people are going to start making these communities, rising up. I do want to say that by this point, by the time the moon moves into Gemini, the moon is way out of bounds again. We're at this lunar maximum standstill, which is also making things extra. So this moon trine Mercury, and then the moon will trine the sun as well, is really asking you to just really create very differently. It just keeps that message activating over and over again. All right. Then on later that day, Mercury will actually join. I haven't got it on here. I'm not going to add it on. But later this same day, February the 7th, Mercury will actually conjunct Chariklo, spinner of grace, and helping us to weave a new story. I invite you to go and sign up for that summit and listen to the talk about the centaurs. Also, on my timeline, I shared the video of an interview I did with my friend Jordan about Chariklo as well. She is a really healing space at the moment that's really holding space for us to choose to create differently and see things differently. And then on to the next day, Mercury will sextile Chariklo's husband, Chiron. Now, I will say that Chariklo and Chiron are starting to move closer to the same degrees, and they are going to have an ongoing supportive aspect of opportunity over the next few years. That's going to repeat and repeat and repeat. Chariklo is at 17 Aquarius right now, and Chiron is in Aries. The two are going to help us to take action to create this new paradigm and to bring healing. But we have to look at the wound first. But anyway, Mercury, sextile Chiron. Chiron is still at the 19-degree mark, where it was when the nodes changed signs, where it was on the April the 8th eclipse 2024, where Chiron was when the nodes entered Aries. That 19-degree Aries mark is such a potent point, and this is saying, have you learned your lesson yet about what you need to do to unlock and take action to be a part of the change you want to see in the world? So there we are. Fire and air as well. Passionate, creative, fast moving. This it's I have to say it's going to be a bit wild, and we're all going to be a little bit more mad scientist through this period. So buckle up. Mercury then will next move on and sextile Eris, who's, still in this February the 11th, 3 days before Mercury leaves Aquarius. How fast is this? Mercury will sextile truth teller and table shaker and pot stirrer Eris in Aries, saying, come on, it's time to stand up for each other and stand up for those that have been marginalized, kept down, all those things. Take a stand, speak up, all of those things. We also, actually, I missed the Mercury Cazimi. Oh, how could I? The superior Cazimi is on February the 9th, and this is when some dazzling clarity starts to really come through. For most of the journey through Aquarius, the moon is under the sun's beams. So, you may not get a very clear picture until afterwards, but this is all developing, and you are kind of working on those burning off, if you want to say, the old ways of thinking and creating the new way of seeing things. All right. So that's all on February. Well, February the 9th is the sun and Mercury. That's that clarity. And then the Mercury comes over and aspects Eris. But Mercury will also conjunct Ceres. How is your community and your people and the tribes that you've created, for want of a better word, how are they supporting you and your needs, and how are you supporting each other's needs? And again, how can you think differently about that? And of course, Mercury is also sextile to Uranus. So this period, February 9th to February 11th, after the Cazimi, and with aspecting Eris and Uranus, is really kind of shaking things up. This is rebel yell. This is kind of, I can kind of see that this period something is going to emerge, kind of a little bit revolutionary. And again, let's hope it's a peaceful revolution, because with the aspects to Eris and Uranus being the modern guide for this, and then we're heading into this Venus and Mercury retrograde and eclipse season in March and April. There's going to be big change and transformation coming. So I really invite you as well to check out my Venus retrograde class that is done in community and lifting each other up so that we can redefine ourselves and the action we are taking in the world. It will help you to get into that, because it's a healing astro-shamanic journey with healing practices contained within. Okay, so sorry about missing some of the aspects, because so Mercury will, of course, it did actually sextile Uranus. So that's higher mind and lower mind. But all of this is really kind of happening around the same time. Particularly that 9th, 10th, and 11th is real radical shakeups. Okay, just nuts, to be quite honest. It's going to be a nutty journey and short. Okay, then Mercury on February the 12th will actually sextile the galactic center, bringing in new information, new truths, new knowledge, and a vision for the future. And then Mercury on February the 13th, as Mercury is leaving the sign of Aquarius, Mercury will hit the very last degree of Aquarius and will square off to Juno, which is sacred contracts with each other. And this is a tense liminal degree. It's about, both of these bodies are about to change signs into Pisces and Sagittarius, which is the sign of vision and faith and belief and keeping the faith. Again, asked to think about who we're in community with, asked to think about how we are contracted with each other collectively and in your home space, and to create differently. It's just wild. And then Mercury will leave Aquarius after that whistle stop 19-day journey, and will move into the sign of Pisces on Valentine's Day, which is quite nice actually, because Pisces is very lovey-dovey and connected, so that's nice for Valentine's Day. But then we're heading towards the Mercury retrograde and the Venus retrograde that are happening at the same time. As Mercury moves into the sign of Pisces, Venus is at 6 Aries, just 4 degrees away from her station retrograde. And things are just going to even increase in their kind of craziness, but in a different way. So all in all, I'm going to ask you to really make the most of this short, fast journey, to really kind of, whatever it takes to think outside the box, whether it's journaling, mind mapping, looking at kind of this second attention is called. So in shamanic realms, we have what's called first attention. It's how we kind of see the world straight on. And then it's kind of this, like, shift your vision a little bit and just see it a little bit differently and think how you can work with that. Okay, but there's also an awful lot here around sharing, making new connections, making new communities, making new you know, plans and hopes and wishes for the future. Big energy of that. And it all happens within one new moon cycle, pretty much. It's just crazy. So I'm going to pull you a couple of cards for this fast moving wild energy. It is very erratic, so for those of us with ADHD, it can be a little bit okay. I kind of like this then. Okay, I'm going to show you. We got the 4 of torches. Now 4 is a number of stability, and look, these people are holding hands, but that could be you coming together, holding your 2 sides of you in hand, but also it's about coming together with others. So it is a fixed sign, Aquarius, so you are being asked to create some stability as much as possible by coming into center. But the message for this is, I am glowing. The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. Ferdinand Folk. I had to be careful how I said that. The card is full of joy and love, which we generously shower on those we care about. Self-validation is called for, and we acknowledge our enthused self, which is manifesting great things in our lives. We are charged with determination, creativity, and willpower. Our hearts are ignited, and our ego is on fire in a good way. It's time to celebrate the heat of our inner fire and revel in our glow and radiance. We feel joyous at what lays ahead. All is going well, isn't it? For now, let us enjoy and appreciate this time. Now, you might say, well, it's all going well. Well, do some gratitude for what is going well, because I will guarantee that in some ways things are going well overall in your own life. Seeker of Vessels. Okay, it's the other card. And these cards, by the way, are the cards I use in my Venus retrograde heroine's journey class. And the price is going up on February the 1st. So go and check it. The other card for guidance for this whistle stop tour is I Am Heart. The message is they muddy the water to make it seem deep. I know what that means to me, and that's Nietzsche. So the gift of this is pure heart that reaches out to let us know we are loved and cared for. The tempting soul tends to be dreamy, loving, and romantic. Some days we may be told we are the one and flattered for our beauty. It is truly meant at the time. However, tomorrow, the wooing may be directed towards someone else. This kind of makes me feel of what's going on out in the outer world, how we are being kind of played and manipulated, let's say, by certain leaders. Anyway, the preference of those out there would be to stay on the surface of the water. And so this seeker wanders, seduces, and dreams and pulls at our heartstrings. The mystery is that love lies in this seeker's cup, accompanied by a companion resident fish, symbolizing inspiration, intuition, and spiritual energy. Here lie the gifts of this seeker that can be fished out with a little diving into the waters and your connection with source and spirit, I'm going to say. So until next time, check out the Venus retrograde class, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, check out the Priestess Summit as well, that's free. My class though is amazing, you don't want to miss it, and price goes up on February the 1st, and also there's a 2-pay option that goes away on February the 1st too. It begins February the 25th, all recorded, all can be done on the recordings or live. There's some pre-work already uploaded and available, and some videos to watch, and I keep uploading videos on the way because this Venus retrograde heroine's journey, astro shamanic healing journey, is going to be intensely amazing and powerful. Love you. See you next time.